They want to do no work on the group project? Fine. We'll all fail. Okay.
OP.
This is OKOP. I'm Samuel Donner.
I'm John Frye.
And we tell the funniest stories on the internet. And John, have you ever been part of a group project?
Oh, man, have I been part of a group project? Yes. Yes, I have.
Yeah. Well, what was your role in the group?
I'm trying to remember. It was definitely in high school. I don't remember the exact roles, but I definitely always remember being that guy who everyone's like, you know what? I don't really care. I'm just going to ride it out. And I'm like, I don't want to fail.
Bro,
so
I'm trying to get that A.
Come on. I don't know if I was trying to get an A, but I wasn't trying to fail.
Yeah,
I wasn't trying to fail.
Dude, I in high school, I was that guy that was just like, I'm going to do the whole group project if it means we can get an A. But in college, I was definitely not that guy.
Ooh, you switched it up a little bit.
Sides.
Come on, baby.
I studied engineering in college and was not liking it. So I didn't really put as much time in as I should have.
So you became the guy who didn't contribute to the group project.
I was the less of a contributor than maybe I was in high school. But I think in general, do your fair share of the group project. And in this case, OP did way more than his fair share, and his group members got screwed over.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do no work on the group project? Fine. We'll all fail. I do computer science degree at university, and we had a group project which is set out in 2 stages. Part A involved making an application and writing a report about it, 50-50 split. And part B, we got feedback from part A and had to improve upon it. In total, it was 100% of a module, which I guess is just like part of your grade. It is also important to note that there's a group contribution report, a GCR, where each student puts in how much they think each student has done.
Interesting.
I was in a randomly selected group with 4 others. We each picked a part of the work that we wanted to do. I was apparently the group's most confident coder, so I assigned myself about half the code. And so I finished up my work in about the first 3 weeks and work on other projects I have for the other modules. Then, soon after I finished my work, the others asked me if I can do their parts too.
Excuse me, he's already doing half the work.
I initially protest as I have my other coursework due, but eventually I say fine. But so long as it's noted in the GCR, they all agree. So basically, it's like, as long as you say, like, hey, you didn't do this.
Give me the credit.
Yeah. I sweated out over the next 3 weeks or so alongside my other coursework. I contacted my module organizer explaining that I had done half the work, and they suggested if people weren't pulling their weight to leave the group, take my code and just do the report myself. That would mean I would need to work flat out to produce the report and probably would mess it up. I didn't want that. The deadline was in about a week. And honestly, I wanted to be lazy and chill. Then my group members came to me and asked if I could do the report too. So not only did I write the entire code project, but they're like, hey, can you write the report as well? Because we don't understand what the heck you did because we didn't do any of it.
Come on.
Basically, they didn't understand how his code worked. And so they felt like they couldn't do it. And at this point, OP felt pretty used by them. But he didn't mind as long as I got the marks. All in all, I worked out that I had done the workload of 3 people. There was talk amongst them all of all writing that we each contributed 20% of the workload to make us look better as a team. Bro, the whole team was OP.
Make us look better as a team. Where was this as a team when we were working on it?
Yeah. I flatly refuse. And they exploded at me, calling me every name under the sun, swearing at me, telling me to F off. So then I sent off my GCR, the group contribution report, the thing that says how much each person in the group did, with a 60 for me and a 10 each for the rest. And then I thought that was that. My module organizer then emailed me asking if I had any proof of this, as all the group members, put me at 0% and themselves at 25%.
You are joking.
Even though OP did all the work. I'd worked my butt off on this project, putting more than 150 hours on the code and 50 hours plus on the diagrams and report. all while attending lectures 20 hours a week over 7 weeks, which if you do the math, averages to an extra 4 hours a day. And that's on top of all my other assignments and commitments. And there was no way I was letting this slide.
That's insanity.
I emailed him back, linking him to the GitHub I use to share the code with the team. GitHub is a source control that shows basically who made changes to the code, so it's easy to track. It's like Google Docs for code. And then it showed him that all the commits, the versions of the code, were done by me, which proved I did all the coding.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, we did the whole report on Google Drive, so you can see the history on that document. And I sent him screenshots of the alterations made by me, proving that I wrote about 20% of the report also.
There we go.
He added it all up and made a special exception for my group, saying he would give me most of the credit for the work. I think I ended up with a 65%, and they got an 11% for the whole coursework part A. They would need a 69% to even pass the module. So it turned out I effed up a bit on the code and only got about 50% of the marks with like a massive issue. Dumb me, because I wasn't interested in making it MVC struck, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But my report sections were near perfect. Spelling mistakes were common, blah, blah, blah. There were a few glaring mistakes, but overall, it wasn't that bad. And then when the group members found out their marks, they started calling me up and emailing me and messaging me almost for about 3 hours. I was happily out at the time and didn't have my phone with me, so didn't respond. So they're freaking out because they got 11s on their report.
You know, where were all these calls and texts when I was working on the assignment, guys?
Yeah, working on the group project.
I missed those calls.
Jesus. My module organizer sent an email explaining that they had lied and he had proof about it, so corrected the marks accordingly. When I got back to my phone, I screenshotted all the messages they had sent and recorded all the voicemails, including the ones they had sent previously, including multiple occasions when they told me to F off. And F off I did. I sent all these voicemails and screenshots to my module organizer requesting that I leave my group and understand that it's more work for me to do, but I'd rather not deal with these terrible group members.
Wow.
He agreed and also escalated the messages to someone higher up. So now it's going to the highest land in the land. At this point, I quit the group and decided to work on part B all by myself, taking all the code with me. So all the code that they worked to do part A, he's taking it with him, which means they have to write everything again.
Wow.
And he removed their access from all of it. I, of course, asked my module organizer first if this was fine, as it was my work, and if I no longer was in the group, the others couldn't submit it. I fixed the error in the code in about 2 weeks and then did the whole report from scratch, which took him about 7 weeks.
Gosh, 7 weeks.
Yeah. I then get messages from the group saying, please come back. We really need you, We really need you on this stuff, and the assignment's due in a few days. They even offered to pay me. I screenshot it and send it to the module organizer just to let him know what's happening and then ignore them. I ended up submitting 2 weeks early for the deadline and got 100% on the whole of section 2.
Wow.
Which is basically unheard at university, especially by yourself for a group project. Later that day, I get an email from a plagiarism and collusion officer. Not someone you ever want to get an email from. Basically, it says, I'm summoned to a hearing at an external body looked at both my group, me, myself, and I, and my old group's coursework, and that they thought it looked very suspiciously similar.
Oh my God.
I get the whole project that my group handed in and my own as evidence so I can look and prepare my answer to their questions. I email my module organizer and ask him if he supports me in this, because basically they can punish all of you or one group, never nobody. He says he supports me in this, and I think perfect. I prepare for this meeting by going through the hundreds of commits I've made and access the one that is most similar to the one that they submitted. I find it a perfect match. 0 differences, not even a single character, although there are thousands of lines of code. So I turn up to this meeting where there's the VP of computing there, the guy who basically decides to do whatever the hell he wants to do. And then my old group, when they're asked to present their answers as to why this happened, go on about how they did it all by themselves, blah, blah, blah. This goes on for about 10 minutes. Then I asked to present my argument. I ask if I can share my screen. The VP says, yeah, okay. Puzzled. I show all the screenshots I took, as some of the people in the meeting weren't aware that we knew each other, including them basically begging for me to come back, offering money to finish the work. And as if that wasn't enough to convince them, I then showed me downloading a fresh version of what they submitted and a fresh version of one of my commits from GitHub and running it through a trusted comparison software. And I narrated this just to explain what I was doing to be clear. It took a while, but it came up as I knew it would. 0 differences. Everyone was stunned. One of the group members uttered, "But," and I just laughed and was quickly asked to hang up as I was no longer involved. Turned out they had cloned one of my commits because they still had a copy on their laptop when I blocked their access, and they just submitted it and hoped for the best. One of my friends, who was friends from one of the people in the group, asked what grade that guy got, and they said they failed the whole module as they got a 0 for the second section, giving them just 5.5% overall for the module. You need at least a 40% to pass.
Wow.
And basically they would have to retake it over summer, costing them and everyone in my old group their placement year jobs. Whoa. That meant they all lost out on being paid $20,000 each for the year's work, which goes a long way for a uni student, while I happily get to take mine.
Is that the end?
That's the end.
Wow. I mean, man, this is so interesting because it's like they basically robbed a bank and then we're like, hey, that guy robbed the bank. The guy who has all the video footage of us robbing the bank.
Yeah, I can't believe you would do that. That was just dumb. I feel like OP was being super nice initially.
Absolutely.
And they just kept taking advantage of him and kept taking advantage of him. And then OP struck back with a vengeance.
I love it. I love it when, someone's doing the right thing, and then someone abuses them, and then that person who's doing the nice thing gets the freaking justice.
Sweet justice, baby. Sweet justice. But you know what always feels as good as sweet justice?
Ooh, clicking subscribe to OKOP.
Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, on TikTok, and if you want to be a real one, support us on Patreon.
Oh yes, join the ranks of Amanda, Will Combs, Connor Van Buren, Keegan Simmons, and Kathy Quigley.
See you soon.